Hey everyone, this is James from TDB bringing you another Inbetweenisode. Today I will be drinking some ripe Pu'erh. It's one of the classic Big Blue Pot episodes. I haven't done one in quite a while, so just going to be drinking my kind of daily drinking ripe. Been working through a cake of this, and this is an interesting one because it's not a fresh Yunnan sourcing ripe from the last couple of years, which is usually what I do drink when I buy from Yunnan sourcing. This one has been chilling in just in this little cabinet here. Apparently I bought this probably a while ago, but it's just been hanging out. It was brought on Inbetweenisode 191, so apparently I bought a couple cakes of this. And it is the Crimson Rooster Ripe from 2017. So this was previously featured on Inbetweenisode 191, so I will be kind of towards the latter end of this episode. I'm going to pause the recording. I did not pre-watch that episode, but I'm going to watch that episode and then let you know what my thoughts are here. But I will say that, I have still been drinking ripe. A lot of the ripes I have had and drank through, frankly, aren't worth talking about. So I went through a string of kind of these Shaguan ripes that I split some cakes with. And Dai ripes are definitely better than Shaguan ripes. And I'm not a huge fan of the Crane Gang's ripes. And so then I went and I finished off some samples of some loose Munghai material, which may or may not be Dai. And that was definitely a bit better than this. And then coming up to this is actually like nice stuff. So I've been really enjoying this, and part of that is just the contrast of kind of the very mediocre ripe I was having beforehand. So in terms of just like a lot of the nuance and the texture and things like that, it's just very obvious how that is. So anyways, let's get to here. I don't believe this is sold out quite yet. So those of you not familiar, I brew ripe very casually in the morning almost every day. And I just dump a lot of leaf into a Big Blue pot here. So 10 grams. The last Big Blue pot got broke. So this is the replacement here. I'll have to order kind of this replacement at some point too. This one's a little bit smaller, but still kind of using the same methodology. So 10 grams for, I don't know how big this is. All right, so here we go. Probably like steep number 5 or something like that. Still bringing a nice dark color. Smooth. It definitely hints at that kind of silk texture that a lot of ripe really gets. The body is like probably slightly on the light end, and I don't consider that a slight here. It's definitely like a little bit more kind of refined. I'd say that's definitely one of the words I would use to describe how this differs from something like a factory blend. Kind of this a little bit of vanilla cream going on as well. Take a quick sniff of the nose. Yep. Just very woody, kind of standard ripe flavors going on there. Ripe's kind of boring at sometimes to describe how it differs because oftentimes it's just like a different variance of kind of familiar themes. So this one, I feel like what does set it apart is kind of that silk woodness to it. I think that texture is very nice here. Color letting up just a little bit compared to the previous state. No, it's still pretty dark. So this ripe definitely has a kind of good juice and good longevity to it for sure. And frankly, I don't remember how this used to taste, so I will have to watch that in between to say. Maybe a little chocolate going on the aroma there. Definitely sweet, smooth, very easy to drink. Yeah, nice dark color there. Gonna wait for that to cool down just a moment here. Yeah, you can tell that the tea is probably starting to slow down just a little bit. Not that you still can't get quite a bit more. I brew these teas very casually, so I will leave some at the table. I'm not going to brew these all the way to the end. I've just become kind of okay with that. One adjustment I have made in the last year or so, I just dumped 10 grams of leaf in rather than kind of trying to do 8.5 or trying to sort of cater it towards what I want, and just being okay with a little bit of tea waste at the end. Anyways, let's get to this. Steep number 6 plus or minus 2. Cheers. Yeah, when drinking it when it's hot, that cocoa note comes out, I would say, even more prominently there. the texture perhaps a little bit less than otherwise, but this is a very pleasant ripe tea. I think it's one that I don't know what it costs because I usually buy from kind of the fresh Yunnan sourcing stock. Just the way that Scott raises prices, you usually kind of get your best bang for your buck if you're buying something from the last year or two. But this one's really solid, yeah. Really nice, refined texture. I'd say that the difference between something like this and a factory ripe is pretty, it's a significant difference. And for me, at least, something like this is a nice little step up. So a nice little treat for kind of like a daily drinking tea. So, yeah. Okay, so really interesting. Just watched the 6-minute episode that I recorded back in 2019. And the episodes are very similar. In that one, I talked about how kind of its standout element was the texture, something that is still true here. I also talked a little bit about how this could be a lighter fermented one and some fruit notes. I don't get those fruit notes anymore, so maybe a little bit of chocolate. And I also was able to answer the mystery of how I ended up with 2 cakes. It's one that I liked enough that I restocked it. It's also Mungku material. So interesting stuff there. I don't know that I could have pegged this as Mungku. I don't have as good of kind of a regional sensor as it comes to ripe because it is just undergoes kind of this fermentation process as well. But yeah, this is definitely like a pretty decent tea. It does cost about twice what it did back then, so that's worth noting too. As I've said many times, if you want to get the best bang for your buck for Scott, buy the stuff that is from the last year or two, just because he does raise the prices pretty consistently on the older stock. So yeah, definitely, I think a well above average ripe. Going to give this a 6.8 rating. I have revised my scale just a little bit to allow for a little bit more of a spectrum on the scale rather than a heavy clustering, which is really what's happened, where it's like I'm only rating teas pretty much between 5 and 7. So I have a 10-point scale when you only are rating within basically kind of a couple numbers. So instead, I'll probably end up rating between 4 and 8, but that's life. A lot of teas do end up kind of clustering as far as like the level in my imagination. So there you have it. Okay, well, thank you everyone for tuning in. I will see y'all next time. Cheers.